Here again, we have a very straightforward solution, and we started our activity not even using any blocks, so as to input two strings, both A and B. And notice how we documented our options using a relatively unPythonic way of capturing those requirements, simply to allow us to concatenate A and B together so as to print our results pretty much from the requirements as we saw, noting that I'm quite certain, certainly because of our unPythonic way of putting together option A and B, that our solution doesn't look anything like yours. And that is exactly the point, because while people tend to fear that diagramming is going to take away their creative freedom, you can see that we do indeed have a wide range of choices on how we write our code, even when we have very exacting in particular requirements. Another way to look at flows, of course, is the way of having alternative flows and having blocks that we have to call upon, complete with our gatekeepers. And here again, modern flowcharting can come to our rescue simply by adding in a diamond, because we're going to start off with something called my app, which means we don't necessarily have to be using Python so as to read an option, and in this case to say if that option is a special character. And of course, giving our previous definition, that would be alphanumeric, and specifically saying we needed to not only say it was special, but repeat the option. Even if we didn't have no going to the right of our diagram, we'd know that if it wasn't yes, we'd have to go to the right to say what has been entered is not special before saying in the exact same style what the option entered was before we ended our program. So when you begin to see that diamond sign, we tend to talk about at least two, if not more, paths that we could take through our code. And taking a look for our first time at the if-else construct in Python, notice that we do indeed see two nested blocks. The first one nested underneath the is-elnum test. And if we didn't flow that direction, of course, in other words, if elnum wasn't true, would go one direction. Otherwise, without using the then, of course, we would go the other way. So a simple activity would be to get used to using Python to code the flow as you've seen here. And you can either implement what you have seen or come up with your own example so as to at least use two nested blocks in creating your solution.